to anchor. And then let's transition to hands and knees tabletop. Let's lay out the fingers nice and wide. Think about the impact on your wrist and try to just mitigate that by becoming more engaged into the fingerprints. And then when you get the fingerprints fully integrated, exhale out, tuck the chin, round the back, tuck the tailbone. And at the top of that arch, think about pushing your scapula towards the lateral edge of your body. Maybe you do a little slight bend to the elbows, maybe like 3 to 8% there. And really try to draw that upper back musculature, that subscapular musculature into some width. And then relax, drop the belly, lift the tailbone, lift the chin. And here, think about retracting the collarbone, like you're trying to not only pull it down towards your tailbone, but also like pull it back behind you. And then we'll exhale, tuck the chin, tuck the tailbone, round the spine. Reimagine or recreate that engagement in the fingerprints. And then pull the scapula wide. Maybe we bend the elbows a little bit more to make that possible. And then we'll inhale, drop the belly, lift the chin, lift the tailbone. And as we breathe here, we're thinking about pulling the scapula back and down. And then we'll relax back to a neutral spine and recreate that engagement with your hands. Before you curl your toes, lift your seat and find down dog. Create the depth of your down dog here. Really think about pressing into that finger mound to help elevate the tailbone, get that spinal column length. Let's walk our hands back to our feet so we end up on a fold on the back end of our mat. We'll inhale into a half lift. And exhale back into fold. Think about the hip hinge and how you release into that hinge while still elevating the sacrum. And then let's roll ourselves up vertebrae by vertebrae. Back end of our mat here. Finding mountain. Thinking about that 2-fist distance between the feet, bringing your hands together at heart center. Interlacing the fingers and pushing the palms away from you if that's accessible. If that feels restrictive on your shoulders, then turn the palms towards you and extend with the palms towards you. So whatever feels accessible for the shoulders here. With an inhale, let's sweep the arms up and overhead. Goal here is to get one big long line. So flex into the quads, flex into the glutes, create that anchor stability, and then really think about keeping the core engaged as you extend the arms towards the ceiling. And then we'll release and find fold. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. And walk your way out into plank. So we end up with that nice solid little plank position. Drop the knees, lift the tops of the feet, and sink your way back into child's pose. In the 1950s and 60s, there was this huge change. A lot of huge changes, but there was a huge change in the cod fishing industry, particularly around Newfoundland. They had drifted from line fishing, which is essentially what you think it is, throwing a line out, having hooks on that line and pulling that line in full of cod. To nets that take out in small boats, drop into the ocean. To larger nets and larger boats that they drop into the ocean. These huge fishing vessels called trawlers. When it feels appropriate, let's pull ourselves forward to tabletop. And once you get that verticality of the forearms, extend your left arm straight forward. Fingertips splayed out wide and extended towards the front of the rim. And then extend your right leg straight back behind you, pointing those right toes and thinking about the femoral head position so that we're really integrated in that back leg. There's no rotation at all. And then plant your left hand, plant your right foot. Exhale out, tuck the tailbone, tuck the chin, round the back, and broaden out across the scapula. And then we'll relax back to neutral. Think about what we need to do to refine the neutral and the spine, and then the right arm's gonna extend straight forward. Hands splays out wide, left foot extends straight back. We point those toes, we keep that whole length here. Think about how it's impacting your core. And then right hand comes down, left knee comes down. Inhale, drop the belly, lift the tailbone, lift the chin. Roll the collarbone back. And we'll return to neutral. Curl your toes, lift your seat, find down dog. Think about driving the hips back, driving the sacrum back into this length. Maximize the length of your spine here. Remember that the knee bending allows for that to be possible if we have restrictive hamstrings. And then we'll walk our way forward into fold. I will inhale into half lift. Exhale our way back into fold. Drift your awareness to your sacrum. Let's roll ourselves up vertebrae by vertebrae. I will find mountain again. Bring your hands together at heart center. As you exhale, feel the body anchoring. Feel that release anchoring you down into the mat, creating stability in your mountain. And then let's slide our left foot back from that stability into lunge. Set the leg positioning and the torso positioning first, then sweep the arms, fully expressing crescent. And then ground your left heel and find warrior two. Think about the femoral positioning on that front leg. Make sure that the heel and inner toe mound arch area are lined up on front and back foot. And then bend your right arm, and we're going to come down to a little side angle. Little modified side angle here. So right forearm comes to the right thigh, left arm reaches towards the ceiling, splay those palms out wide, or that palm out wide. Maybe you can do both. And we'll draw ourselves back up into two. Or engage, left heel spins up, we're back into crescent. Drop the hands and step to the front of the mat. Sweep the arms up and overhead. And exhale through forward fold. Inhale into half lift. Feel the breath in your body at the top of this half lift, so maybe another cycle. And then we'll release back into fold. Drift the awareness to the sacrum, and we'll roll ourselves up vertebrae by vertebrae. Coming back into mountain and bringing the hands together at heart center. As you land, exhale so that you're more anchored. Just continually think about how the exhales are allowing us to be anchored. There's a softness in that, but mountain is not a soft position, right? So we have engagement even as we relax. And then from that stability, we slide our right foot straight back. setting the lunge position of the leg, setting the torso position, and then sweeping the arms. Crescent. Thinking about that femoral position as you ground the right heel. We maintain that positioning of the left leg. Warrior two. And then the left arm bends, and we bring that left forearm down to the left thigh. Right palm splays out wide. Left palm can if that feels good for you. When you feel balance left to right, we'll draw ourselves back into two. Right heel spins up, crescent. Drop the hands and let's step to the front of the mat. Sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale through forward fold. Inhale into half lift. At the top of this half lift, spine is neutral and we're feeling the breath travel through the body here. As you're exhaling, think about how it's anchoring you. Even in this kind of weirdly off-balance position, we're anchored through the feet. And then exhale back into your fold. Plant your hands, we'll walk our way back into down dog. Come down to hands and knees, tabletop, flip the tops of the feet and sink back into child's pose. You melt and land here. The sacrum relaxing towards the lateral edges of your body, right? So all of the musculature tied into that structure of the sacrum, just relax laterally. Think about using the exhale breath to anchor yourself more here, to create more stability in child's pose. We don't really think of child's pose as a pose where we need stability. It's hard to fall very far from child's pose. And yet, more stability is available, so let's find it. The trawlers were these massive and massively devastating in many ways, massively successful, but massively devastating in many ways, innovation into fishing. They cast out these huge net-like structures that would drag across the bottom of the ocean. And these boats would pull everything from the bottom of the ocean up. And it was an incredibly effective way to capture fish, but it was incredibly devastating to the environment of the ocean. And by the time the 70s and 80s rolled around, the cod fishing industry was more or less collapsing upon itself because of the introduction of these trawlers, of this dredging form of fishing. When it feels appropriate, as it feels appropriate, let's pull ourselves forward to hands and knees, tabletop. From tabletop, let's curl our toes, lift our seat, and find down dog. From your down dog, send your left foot straight back and behind you, three-legged dog. And then we'll step our left foot forward into lunge. So as the left foot lands, think about the balanced weight distribution between your front and back foot. And then let's plant our right hand, and we're going to take our left hand up into a twist. Pay attention to the strength in that left quad. Let your left hand come back down to the mat. And then see if it's possible to sweep your way up into crescent. It's a pretty big ask, for a lot of reasons, but it's also really easy to get the spine out of alignment here. So when you get to the top of this shape, think about squeezing the core to maintain this verticality. And then we'll float our hands back down to the mat and step our left foot back into down dog. Give forward to plank. And then lift the seat into down dog. Right foot extends straight back and behind us. And we'll step the right foot forward into lunge. Right foot lands and we think about the balanced weight distribution. Then the left hand becomes an anchor and we take our right hand into our twist. Pay attention to what's going on in that left heel. It's very easy to have that collapse out towards the edge of your mat. Think about flexing the left quad to help prevent the knee from bending and to maintain that strong shape. And then right hand comes down to the mat when you feel balanced. We'll sweep our way up into crescent if it's accessible for us. At the top of the shape, watch the low back arch. Easy for the low back to want to arch. Find your way into your crescent. And then we'll drop the hands to the mat. Step the right foot back into down dog. Shift our weight forward to plank. Lift our seat into down dog. And let's walk our way forward into fold. Inhale into half lift. And exhale back into fold. Sweep your way to mountain. Bring your hands together, heart center. Once again, use the exhale to land. Gather that stability. Lay the toes out on both feet. Think about, we're going to do this in an exhale, but think about the exhales continually building more connection with the feet. And then the next time that you exhale out with that connection on the feet kind of as our emphasis, we're going to bend the hip hinge and push that back into chair. So knees end up bending, right? But think about hip hinge back. That way we maintain the verticality of the tibia and fibia. We keep the toe splay active. You can extend the arms if that feels accessible to you. But if it arches your back or it changes the shape, keep the hands heart center. And then we'll rise back up into mountain. Sweep the arms up and overhead. And exhale through forward fold. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. Plant your hands and we'll walk our way back into down dog. Let's come down to hands and knees tabletop. We'll flip the tops of the feet and sink our seat back in a child's pose. Pay attention to that hip hinge here. Really think about pulling energetically back into the anterior hip crease. The more you can pull that hip crease back, the more room there is for the lumbar to expand. Like the exhale that is landing us in our feet when we're vertical is now retracting the hips so that the torso can land on the thighs more intently. And so this story takes place before the introduction of the trawlers. This young boy who grew up working on his father's small cod fishing boat. And he started when he was 10 or 12 years old, and he hated it. He was terrified of it because they would get out into the Arctic Ocean and these 40 or 50 foot waves would just toss this boat around like it was nothing. And he just has memory after memory after memory of being out there and pulling in these nets into this small little boat while it's just getting tossed about. And it was terrifying. Give ourselves just 15 more seconds here.
When it feels appropriate for you,
we'll pull ourselves forward to hands and knees tabletop. Curl our toes, lift our seat, and find out dog. Get the weight back into the hips. Make sure that you're feeling the weight in the legs. The legs are doing the work. And then we'll walk our way forward into fold. Inhaling into half lift. Exhaling back into fold. And let's drift our awareness to our sacrum, and then we'll roll or sweep our way up into mountain. Bring your hands together, heart center. Breathing here. Landing in the exhale breath. Physically anchoring through the duration of the exhale breath. And then let's slide our left foot straight back into lunge. Sweep to crescent. Core is engaged. Right quad is engaged. Left quad is engaged. So there's no bend in the left knee. Left heel grounds, and we roll the two. Right arm bends. Right forearm comes to the right thigh. Modified side angle. Left fingers are open wide here. And then extend your left arm straight out like you're trying to maintain this lateral line angle. And then we'll pull ourselves back into two. Bring our hands together at heart center. Keep the left heel grounded. And you're gonna exhale into that anterior hip crease on the right hip and turn your torso towards warrior one. So hips square up, shoulders square up towards the front of your space, but we're pulling that right hip crease back. If it feels accessible, you can sweep the arms. And we'll spin the left heel up into crescent. Drop the hands and step to the front of the mat. Exhale so that you land. Anchoring as you exhale. When it's appropriate, when you feel ready, right foot slides straight back. Sweep to crescent. Core is engaged, spine is vertical. Good engagement in that left quad. Good engagement in that right quad. Right heel grounds, and we find two. Left arm bends, left forearm to left thigh. Right hand reaches towards the ceiling, fingers splay wide. When it feels appropriate, let's extend that right arm out towards the front of your room, like you're extending the lateral angle of the body. Coming back up into 2. Bringing the hands together at heart center. And then exhaling into that left anterior hip crease as you turn your torso. Feeling that hip crease anchor back. If it feels accessible, you can sweep the arms. But the shoulders and hips squaring upwards is the goal. Eventually, the right heel will spin up, and we'll drop the hands and step to the front of the mat. Sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale through forward fold. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. Plant your hands. We'll walk our way back into down dog. Bend the knees and let the knees come down and hover just an inch or 2 off the ground so that we have just a little floating tabletop here. And then lift your seat back into down dog. And then let's come down to hands and knees tabletop, flip the tops of the feet and sink your way back into child's pose. All right. Now we should have created some more anterior hip space, or the should is the wrong word. We're hopefully creating some more anterior hip space, right? So as you exhale, really think about pulling those anterior hips back and getting more depth, crafting more depth with each exhale cycle. In his early 20s, his father retired from the fishing industry. And at this time, the cod fishing industry was thriving. People would describe it as you could just go out and dip your hands in the ocean and pull up a cod. There were so many. And so his father gave him this business in Newfoundland. There's kind of one industry. You either fish for cod, you process cod, or you sell cod. And so he was given a fishing business. But he made a vow to himself that he wasn't going to put himself or his crew in the danger that his father was willing to. He was never going to chase that. So if there was inclement weather, if there were a prediction of excessive waves, you just keep the boat in and he'd fish on days when the waves weren't there. Last 15 seconds here.
I saw the shadow before it touched the ground. Heard the silence before it made a sound.
When it feels appropriate, let's pull ourselves forward to hands and knees tabletop. Curl your toes, lift your seat, find down dog.
Words froze in my mouth like they always will.
And when it feels appropriate, let's walk our way to the front of the mat.
It's a curse to see in the dark.
Inhale into half lift.
When the world still
Exhale back into fold.
in the park.
50 awareness to the sacrum. Let's sweep or roll our way up into mountain.
I've held a lantern where the light won't reach.
Exhale and land.
Spoken in tongues that the wind won't teach.
Lay the toes out wide.
And I've walked the edge where the night turns deep,
And sink the seat back into chair.
while the rest still dream in their easy sleep.
Maybe you extend the arms, maybe you keep them where they are. And then we'll rise back to mountain. Bring the hands to heart center if they're not there.
Painted the future.
Slide the left foot back into lunge.
They laughed at the frame before it took hold.
Sweep the arms to crescent.
Every truth feels heavy at the start.
Exhale and anchor that left heel. And then tilt your torso and reach the arms towards the front of the room.
Your own heart.
Drive that left heel back and think about the sacrum pushing back. Sweep the arms behind you and squeeze the scapula as you extend the crown of the head. Then sweep the arms back up and we'll step forward. And exhale the hands into your mountain. Exhale and land. Exhale and sink the seat back in a chair. Maybe you extend the arms, maybe you keep them where they are. We rise to mountain. Bring the hands to heart center if they're not there. Right foot slides back into lunge. Sweep the arms to crescent. Exhaling and anchoring into that right heel. And then torso tilts towards the front of the room. Reach those arms. Think about that length. Think about pushing back into sacrum, pushing back in the right heel. Sweep the arms behind you, squeeze the scapula, and reach the crown of the head. Sweep the arms back up, step forward. Exhale the hands to heart center. Sweep the arms back up and overhead. Exhale through forward fold. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. Plant your hands, we'll walk our way back into down dog. Really drive the weight into the hips here. And then we'll come down to hands and knees, tabletop, flip the tops of the feet, and sink your way back into child's pose. Land in that child's pose here. Draw the anterior hip crease back. Maintain that base and feel the spine landing. Feel the torso landing so that the spine can expand here. We'll give ourselves about 45 more seconds here. When it feels appropriate for you, we're going to pull our way to tabletop and then extend our legs straight out in front of us. Your staff. In staff, and remember the knees can bend, right? We want this hip hinge to be our focus here. So the goal is going to be to exhale out and feel the hip hinge retract as we find our way forward into fold. And we just settle into this forward fold. Keep thinking about the anterior hip crease. You can walk the sacrum back if that's accessible for you. But length from the hip crease hinge into the back expansion. Let's give ourselves about 60 more seconds here. Good long forward fold. Last 20 seconds here. When it feels appropriate, let's bring ourselves back up into staff. We're gonna grab our blanket and ball, and we'll set that up. So this is just gonna be a little neck adjustment. So from shelf fold, ball in the middle, little taco fold, and that can just be set to the side for the moment. We're headed straight onto our spine. And just allowing our body to feel here. And then that's when you're ready. When you're ready, we're gonna bring that blanket ball taco over. The ball's going right in line with the cervical spine. I'm not gonna say in the middle because there's really three positions, right? There's the top base of the skull, middle of the cervical spine, kind of apex of the bend, and then at the base of the cervical spine, right where the thoracic spine and cervical spine meet. Any of those positions for the ball where you feel like you're gonna get the biggest impact. And then we're gonna let the bottoms of the feet come together and the knees fall out wide. And here we're just melting into what we've created thus far. And so true to his word, when he took over his father's cod fishing vessel, if there was inclement weather predicted, if the waves were predicted to be large, he would not go out. And so for the first week of his captainship, he never left the harbor. On the 8th day, as he was kind of getting up and checking the weather report, he walks down to the harbor and he's seeing everybody else headed out. Somebody asked him, like, why aren't you going out? And he said, well, the waves have been terrible this year, and I just don't want to put my crew at risk. And people kind of said, well, totally up to you. We get that. But just so you know, it's been a record fishing season thus far. And he would see it as the boats would come back in. They had overflowing cargo hulls. And yet, every day, the weather was predicted to be worse and worse and worse. The waves in the Arctic Ocean are pretty notorious for being terrible. being dangerous. And so for the first week, he didn't go out. For the second week, he didn't go out. For the third week, he didn't go out. And people would continually ask him, why aren't you going out? And he would say, well, I'm just waiting till the waves are calm. Don't worry about me. I know what I'm doing. I'm just waiting till the waves are calm. Let's give ourselves 30 more seconds here. When it feels appropriate for you, we'll bring the knees back to neutral. As the knees come back to neutral, let's pull that blanket ball out from underneath us. Maybe allow your head to move in both directions. And eventually head comes back to neutral. Make sure your feet are 2 distance apart. And let's let the knees start to move in both directions. A little dynamic sway for the knees. Just letting your hips explore. Letting the lumbar spine explore, letting the sacrum explore what is possible in its range of movement. Maybe one more time in each direction. When you feel right, ready, knees come back to neutral. Spine sits against the neutrality of your mat. Ask yourself if there's any final tweaks or adjustments that you could offer your body that would be impactful, that would be beneficial. And if there are, let's offer those to our body now. If you have everything you need, if you feel like you're ready for your version of stillness, then let's drop into that. Let's find our version of Shavasana. And so as it turned out, this first fishing season was plagued by brutal weather and massive waves. And so he barely took his boat out, his crew out. Most of the time, the boat just sat in the safety of the harbor. finding your version of stillness here. wasn't long before the trawlers were introduced. And when the trawlers were introduced, they were expensive. And only the cod fishermen that had been incredibly successful over the most recent years had enough to afford them. And so it wasn't long before he lost his fishing business. There just wasn't enough fish left for everyone when the trawlers came. Start to bring some movement to our fingers and our toes. To our wrists and our ankles. To your elbows and your knees. To your shoulders and your hips. Neck, head, jaw, eyes, tongue. Whole body moves. And eventually we'll allow that movement to transition ourselves back into a seat. In the seated space, spine gets nice and tall, breath nice and fluid, eyes closed. Don't bring your hands together, heart center. Over the course of the next 7 days, can you remind yourself that it is not the waves that are the problem? It is your expectation that there will someday be a day without waves that can lead you astray. And see how that impacts your experience. Thank you so much for being a part of this evening's practice. Being you. Namaste. Happy Monday, guys. Appreciate the heck out of you. Love the heck out of you. Have a beautiful week. I'll be back on Sunday to recharge. Take care of yourselves. Love you. Mwah.